Welcome back to Odds of War. Today, I'm going to tell you about how to get the most out of your medic specialists. Stay tuned. All right, so for use in our examples today, we've got some Sisters of Battle. We've got an Endurant from the Arcoflagellants and a Battle Sister with a Flamer. She's going to be our medic today, and then our Endurant here is going to be a Zealot for the purposes of an example I'll show you here in a bit. Next up, we've got some Harlequins. Okay, the Harlequin here with the little nose, kind of like a Plague Doctor mask, that's going to be our medic for our purposes of examples. Next to them, we've got the Cult of the Fanged Shadow out in force here today because I'm going to need a high number of models to show off some of the examples with them. Our medic will be this little cheeky guy with the shotgun and the blasting charges. And then next to them, the Thousand Sons, we've got two Terminators and a Zangor. Now the Zangor actually also can be a medic, but for the purposes of today, these are going to be our test subjects here. So he'll be a leader, and then these guys will be other models. So before we go any further, guys, please remember to like the video if you like what you see, and comment down below letting us know any tips or tricks that you've found with medic specialists. And if you like any of the stuff you see in the video today, make sure to subscribe to see our videos in your feed every week. The medic specialist in any particular army is a little bit of a more rare pick because its benefits are not so obvious as something like a sniper specialist, which is a direct buff to the model itself, or a leader specialist, which of course is a must take. But the medic specialist is more of a force multiplier that helps out other models be more successful. It's sort of like a comms specialist, but it's even more difficult to use than a comms, which is fairly plug and play. So let's go down onto the board, let's get set up, and we'll talk about our different ways to use the medic specialist. So this is our board today. Again, we're at this abandoned dig site here. We've got some rocks, again, blocking our lanes of movement. So we've got two good lanes of movement here to cross the board, and we've got just some line of sight blocking implements, and of course over here something like difficult terrain. We'll have a couple of objectives that we'll place around on the board for ease of examples. Now, the medic specialist, there's two parts if we're looking to take full advantage of the medic. The first part being their innate trait, reassuring, which basically helps us to mitigate morale tests, and then their tactic, stim shot, which helps to buff other units of your army. All right, so this is our first example here. We've got an Endurant and a Battle Sister going into the Thousand Sons Scarab Occult Terminator here. So we've got them set up. We're just about 6 inches apart, so we need a 6-inch charge here. Now in this example, we're going to start off, we're going to show you this Endurant first just naked, just alone, okay? So the Endurant's looking for a 6-inch charge. Okay, we make it easily with the 8, so we make it in. Now an Endurant has got 3 attacks base, okay? So now each attack from the Endurant with an Arcoflails is D3 attack rolls, or to hit rolls for each attack. So that's 3, 4, 5 attacks. Okay, so we'll pick up a couple extra dice. Now she hits on 4s, the Endurant does. All right, so we've got 2 hits so far, and thanks to Zealot, we get to re-roll those. All right, so we get 4 hits. All right, now the Endurant with the Arcoflails is strength 5 to the toughness 4 here. So we get 3s to wound. That's a very good wound roll there, so we get 4 wounds, but it's only AP -1, and it is damage 1 against the Scarab Occult Terminator, meaning that he negates any AP there, so we're on a 2-up save. We make every single save there. That was a pretty good roll for the Endurant, all things considered, and you'll see that, that this Endurant here made not a single dent into the Scarab Occult Terminator. So let's reset and let's show the first combo to use the medic. So the first combo that we're talking about with the medic here is, of course, using the stim shot to great effect to boost the combat power of our Endurant here, okay? So like we said before, an Endurant has got 3 attacks base. Now the stim shot happens at the start of the movement phase for 1 CP. You do it to a friendly model within 2 inches, okay? And you get +1 to advance and charge rolls and +1 attack. So now we get a 4th attack for the Endurant. Now, note, we said this was a 6 inches across, so we're looking for a 6 to charge. With the stim shot now, we're looking for a 5 to charge, okay? So we'll roll it up again. We get the 8 again, so it's no problem. We make it in, okay? Now this time, the Endurant has got 4 attacks, which is 4d3. So now you can already see a big increase here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 attacks. Okay, that's quite the chunk of attacks here, all right? So again, 4s to hit when we re-roll. All right, so you can already see a big increase in the number of hits. Then we go 3s to wound again, okay? Pretty good on the wound roll as well, and then 2s to save for that. He saves them all again. So in this case, again, should have failed at least one there statistically, but I think you can see the benefit of that. Now, if we're going to reset again, we do this one last time. This time, our Endurant is a Zealot Specialist, and this is a 2 CP combo here. I think it's really valuable, okay? So the Battle Sister, who is our medic, does the stim shot stratagem at the start of the movement phase. Again, we get the +1 attack, +1 charge. We charge in, we've made it, okay? Now at the fight phase, when we select our Endurant to attack, we're going to use the Zealot Specialism 1 CP tactic to make every hit roll of 6+ an extra attack, okay? So once again, 3 attacks for the Endurant. But now because they're a Zealot, they get an extra attack for having charged, and then that stim shot gives them an extra attack on top of that. So now you see we've got 5 D3 attacks, okay? So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 attacks, which is pretty good, okay? Now we'll roll them. We're looking for 4s. Thanks to Zealot, we re-roll, and any 6s cause an extra attack there, okay? So we'll take out our 1s, 2s, and 3s, all right? We'll re-roll here, all right? So we do get a couple extra attacks. Now, because we've used the Zealot Specialism, these 2 6s are extra attack rolls, and this is very powerful on something like the Endurant here, or any model that has a weapon that causes extra attacks. So in this instance, this isn't just 2 extra attack rolls, that's 2 D3 extra attack rolls. So for this, we get 4 extra attacks, okay? So you can see now how these are really starting to pile up. All right, so 2 more hits, and the 3s in this instant, because the Zealot gets to re-roll again. So now interesting to note that we do get 4 extra total hits. This 6, the Zealot Specialist tactic, clarifies that 6s past the first generation of extra attacks do not generate further. But you can see now how we've turned this Zealot into making 12 hits, okay? So now once again, 3s to wound, which we get a good number of wounds on, okay, and then now we're back again. These, I picked the Scarab Occults because of how durable they are to really show off. Again, we're looking for 2s to save, and there it is, 2 CP, but we've forced it, we've killed the Scarab Occult Terminator. So, as you can see on their own, the Endurant has very little chance of killing a high toughness, high save character like a Scarab Occult Terminator. But with the appropriate CP, the appropriate planning, you can force those saves and kill those models. So this is applicable for going into any high save model like a Terminator or, for example, a Custodes. You can use this tactic, okay, to basically pump up the destructive power of one of your models or even one of your specialists. Okay, so let's go into our next example. So in this example, we've got our Harlequins here going into the Thousand Suns. Our 2 Harlequins are within 2 inches of our Zealot, or of our Medic Specialist, excuse me. They are ready to go. Now it's the beginning of the movement phase. Stim shot has to be used at the beginning of the movement phase, okay? So what the Harlequins have here is a choice. Looking at the board, we can tell that our Terminators are gonna go get on both objectives. So the Harlequins have a choice. We can either stim shot our Harlequin here, who we'll say is our combat specialist, and we can really power them up like we showed in the last example. Or, and then this is the flexibility, this is the nice thing about the medic, is we can let our combat specialist be our combat specialist and stim shot our other Harlequin and effectively make them another combat specialist because they have the +1 attack. So we choose to do that. So in our last example, we powered up a specialist. In this example, we're gonna leave our combat specialist as he is and power up our other non-specialist. So our Thousand Suns move on to the objectives. We've already stim shot our non-specialist, and now, thanks to what we've done, we've got basically 2 combat specialists for this round. All right, so now at this point, you've seen how to use stim shot to power up your combat prowess. Now we're going to move over to using the Gene Stealer cult, the Cult of the Fanged Shadow, to demonstrate a couple other tricks we can use with stim shot and a combination of another specialism to take over the movement phase. We're set up for our next example here. We've got the same Thousand Suns in a slightly different format. Remember, our Zangor back here is our leader in this example, and our two Terminators are blocking this path, so nothing can move through here unless they charge. Across the other side of the board here is our Cult of the Fanged Shadow. You can see they're arrayed kind of in a wide, messy formation. Now, realistically, in this example, nothing of the Gene Stealer cult is realistically going to be able to touch our leader here, and we're sort of forced to go through this bulwark of Terminators, except for the fact that we have a medic specialist here and our scout specialist here. Okay, now this is the big combo. All right, this is a great combo with two underutilized specialists to get some really silly value. Now across the board, you'll also notice we have an objective over here, once again pretty far away from our Gene Stealer cult that we want to get on. So at the top of the movement phase, of course, we're going to utilize our medic specialist to stim shot our scout specialist. Now remember, that gives him +1 to advance and charge rolls and +1 attack. Now our scout specialist, you'll notice, has a flamer. This is important to note, for the flamer is an assault weapon, okay? So at the top of the movement phase, we've stim shot our scout specialist, and when it is our turn to move with the scout, we're going to use the scout specialist tactic, Quick March, to +2 to his advance roll. So now we've given our scout specialist a cumulative +3 to the advance roll for this phase, and of course the scout's innate ability to re-roll their advance roll. So now I've intentionally set this up to where our scout specialist is 20 inches away in a, or just under 20 inches away in a really long charge to be able to use that flamer against the Zangor. But now we've got a +3. Okay, so let's go ahead and roll his advance. That's beautiful. We get a 6 immediately, okay? So now we'll just add it up, all right? So now that scout specialist has a 6-inch base move. We've rolled a 6 for the advance. That gives us 12. And then our stim shot and our scout tactics combined give us another 3 inches of movement for a combined total of 15, which brings us, so 15 can bring us all the way over here if we like, which is well within the 8 inches to use the flamer, okay? But like I said, we have a objective over on this end, and the 15 inches equally gets us there, still within a comfortable 8-inch range to use the flamer on the leader, okay? And of course, get on a far objective. So you can see how using it is 2 CP, it is a expensive play, but it uses something that your opponent probably is not going to be expecting. They're going to, especially with more elite armies like this, the Thousand Suns, they're not going to be able to block off every movement lane. Now there's lots of examples of medics and scouts in a lot of armies that you can use this exact tactic with. Use this 2 CP combo of stim shot and quick march to zoom your scout specialist up the side of a board onto a weak flank and shoot something that really ought to be hidden. If our scout is over here on the objective, interesting thing to note, that now our Thousand Suns player has a choice. They can continue to body block here, fighting into these guys, or they have to redirect their attention from the main body of the Gene Stealer force over to this scout, because now he's on a weak flank. We've put our Thousand Suns player in a tough decision because he can either go this way or he has to come back over this way to address the scout, thus leaving this side weaker from the main body of the Gene Stealer forces. Now, in the event that the Thousand Suns player in this example does elect to address the scout that has quick marched his way across the border, remember the stim shot does give them +1 attack. So in the event that you have this happen, your scout actually is just that little bit better in combat and might come away unscathed. All right, so that's all the different ways you can use the stim shot tactic in conjunction with other specialists or non-specialists to gain more value out of that medic specialist. I hope you can see using stim shot is very flexible. That's the strength of that, is that it's a force multiplier that is very flexible for 1 CP, where you can buff other parts of your army. Now, the other half of the medic specialist to gain full value is, of course, their innate trait at level 1, reassuring, which means that they never count as shaken for other models' nerve tests. Okay, so I've set up another example where this is going to come in big for us, and I'll show you how we use that. So we've set up this other example. As you can see in this game, obviously the Gene Stealer cults have gotten the worst end of the stick in the battle. We've got a bevy of flesh wounds here on the table, and over to the right off the board is all of our out of action models. So you can see that this is a very problematic situation for morale. Now, we're going to assume that this is late game. There's perhaps only the one objective that you really care about controlling. Perhaps controlling that objective wins you the game. Okay, and you can see our 2 Thousand Sons Terminators are ready to move in and strike, perhaps charging in, grabbing this objective from us. But if we can keep our aberrant alive, then they can't ignore him, and he could either charge in to support, or perhaps if we win an initiative in the next round, charge in and body block these guys, thus winning us the game, if we can only make it past this morale phase. So just to talk about it really quick, we do have 6 out of action members of the team here, okay? So that gives us a cumulative +6 to any morale rolls, which is really tough because everybody on the board currently only has a leadership of 7, and then the leader here has a leadership of 8. Now, one thing we know about morale is that the order in which you take your nerve tests is very important, because each shaken model on the field adds another +1 to your subsequent nerve checks, okay? So this is where the medic comes in big, because the medic is never considered shaken for other models' nerve tests, meaning that the medic is one of the first models, in the case that they need to take a nerve test, the medic is one of the first models that you want to take your nerve test in, because if they pass, great. If they don't pass, they don't count as shaken for your other models. So here's our medic. He's within 2 inches of our other 2 models here that are important for staying unshaken. And we know that regardless of the result of the nerve check for this model, that we have a model that will count as not shaken for these 2 friendly models, meaning that we have, at least right now, a guaranteed -1 to our nerve checks for these 2 models. So remember, like I said, currently we have a cumulative +6, but now we have a -1 to our nerve checks just for having the medic on the board. Okay, so that means that our aberrant now with a leadership of 7 will be okay as long as he rolls a 1 or a 2. And then our leader is okay on a 1, 2, or 3. But we can make this even better, because over here on the right side of the board, our metamorph with the cult icon, we're going to say is our comms specialist. So this is how we can start combining our different specialists and gaining more value. The comms specialist has another underutilized tactic, rousing transmission. Now, rousing transmission is activated at the beginning of the nerve, or at the beginning of the morale phase, before you take any nerve tests. Basically, what it does is it allows you to give a -1 modifier to the roll, as if the comm specialist was within 2 inches of every model on the field and not shaken. Okay, so let's go back down to our table. Let's look at our result. So now we've got our medic here, who gives a guaranteed -1 to the roll here. We've activated our comm specialist rousing transmission, which gives us a cumulative -2 to the roll, a guaranteed -2 to the roll to counteract our +6. So that gives us a cumulative +4 to the roll. Okay, so we're sitting on a +4 to the roll, and that means that now our aberrant, we've improved the odds. Now, the previous odds at first glance were that only on a natural 1 will the aberrant not not fail. But now we only have a +4, meaning that on a 1, 2, or a 3, the aberrant will be okay, giving him a 50-50 shot at passing this nerve check, which is pretty good for 1 CP. Then over here, our leader currently with a +4 means that on a 1, 2, 3, or 4, okay, that's a 66% chance to pass. So with the simple, just taking the medic specialist and then having a comms specialist and using rousing transmission, we increase our chances by a large degree of passing crucial nerve checks. Okay, now of course we can't talk about nerve checks without mentioning the general tactic that everyone has access to, insane bravery. Okay, insane bravery is also spent, like the comms tactic, is spent at the beginning of the morale phase before you take any nerve checks, and it auto passes a nerve check for a particular model. All right, so in this example, now what we might want to do is say, okay, our aberrant is a key model here. Okay, so before we do anything, again, this is a 2 CP combo. We're in a very dire situation. We knew that this situation was going to be dire, so we saved the 2 CP for just this situation, okay? At the top of the morale phase, before we take any nerve checks, we're going to spend rousing transmission, and we're going to auto pass our aberrant, because he's the key to being able to body block these 2 gentlemen, all right? So now that means that our medic specialist is going to be our first morale check to take, okay? So he has got, right now, he's got 2 friendly models within 2 inches, and we've got our rousing transmission model, okay? So that gives us a -3 total to the roll to counteract our +6 from our out of action models, giving us a cumulative +3, which means that on a 1 through 4 we pass, and a 5 and a 6 we fail for the medic. But again, remember, you don't actually really care which way the medic goes, because if he fails, he won't count as shaken for the rest of his models. So now we roll a 4, so thanks to our proper play, he passes, okay? So that's great. That means now, again, we've passed here, we've passed here. Now again, our leader is the second crucial piece to passing. Leadership 8 for this, for Ural Kraus here. He's got a -1 to the roll from our comms specialist thanks to rousing transmission. He's got a -1 to the roll thanks to our medic specialist, who will never count as shaken. And we've got a +6 to the rolls. So again, like we said in the previous moment there. So basically, as long as he doesn't roll a 5 or 6, he'll pass his morale check. 1 through 4 pass, 5, 6 fail. So we'll go ahead and roll it out. Okay, there we go. We roll the 2. That's very nice. So he passes. So now we've got our major players here have passed our morale checks, and we can move over into the rest and resolve morale as it comes. So basically you can see how simply having a medic on the field and potentially combining with the comms specialist tactic can turn a very dire morale situation into a very manageable morale situation, thus potentially either keeping you in the game 1 turn longer or clinching success and the win. All right, so that's it, guys. That's what I could think of as ways to make the most out of your medic specialist. Please let us know down in the comments if you've tried any of these. Have they worked for you? Have they not worked? Anything I missed, let us know down in the comments. Let's get a discussion going about how to make the medic specialist work for you. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to the channel to get more videos like this in your feed every week. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye.